Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Rose, and today I'm going to take a look at the importance of continuous, uninterrupted sleep. And I can't emphasize enough how important this is for so many reasons. It's one of our essential needs. It's when our body heals. When we sleep at night, that's when our body emits light. Remember, biophotons, that's what we're talking about here. This is information. This is how our body communicates. This is when our body heals. Our body heals when we sleep. If you're not getting a good night's sleep, you're not going to be able to heal yourself. A lot of people say, what's wrong? I'm doing everything right. Why aren't I seeing the results I'm looking for? Believe it or not, something this simple could be the reason. You have to have continuous, uninterrupted sleep. And that's because there's 5 main cycles that I'm going to go over in just a minute. And most of y'all probably already know if you're not getting enough sleep, right? If you're frequently drowsy when driving, you know you're not getting enough sleep, right? How about irritability? Do you know that many times the reason why you're irritable? Because you're not getting enough sleep. You're not recharging your emotional batteries. You got to get that REM sleep to recharge your emotional batteries. Again, we heal when we sleep, but we also recharge our emotional batteries. And if you're not doing that, how do you know? Might be the reason why you're irritable. Of course, having a serpent inside our belly, that's another reason. In fact, when toxins back up, one of the first things it does is irritates the lining membrane of our organs, and that creates the inflammation. So we can become irritable if we're not clean and we're backing up, but we can also be simply irritable because we're not getting our REM sleep. Again, most people know when they're not getting enough sleep. You wake up tired, you want to sleep longer. When the weekend comes or when your day off comes, you sleep longer and you feel better. That tells you, right? How about your productivity at work? I'm not as productive at work. Why is it? Well, you know probably right now, most of you guys know that you're not getting enough sleep. And the problem with this is sleep deprivation is cumulative. It has devastating effects on our health. Devastating. And to understand why it's so important for it to be continuous is that we go through 5 main cyclical cycles if we make it through all of them. And the way the cycles go, if we have 5 of them, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all non-REM. And then it goes 3, 2, REM. And that lasts about 100 minutes, and about 10 minutes of that is REM. So it's first cycle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, REM. Second cycle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, REM. 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 By the time we get that 5th cycle, if we're lucky enough, we got a whole 60 minutes, a whole hour of REM sleep. That means about 1/3 of our total REM sleep comes in that very last hour. In the second hour, if it's a geometrical progression, we might have maybe 47 minutes. So we're looking at about 60% of our REM sleep comes in those last 2 hours, those last 2 cycles. Now this is why it's got to be continuous and uninterrupted, because at any time, no matter where we are in these 5 cycles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2 REMs, no matter where we are, if we're here or here or here, if we're interrupted, where do we go? Back to here. So if you're already in the 3rd stage in the middle of the night, someone comes along and they come home and they push those little buttons to turn the car alarm on and the horn honks and wakes you up, what happens? You go back to the 1st stage. You never make it to the last 2 stages. You're only going to get 40% of the REM if you're lucky. And what's going to happen? You're going to be irritable. That's why this is so important to me. That's why I'm so passionate about making sure all my neighbors get a good night's sleep. I don't want irritable neighbors. Do you? Who wants neighbors that are irritable? Unless people that are so unhappy, the only way they can feel happy is if other people are more unhappy than them. And unfortunately, there's too many of those. So I always go out of my way to help every one of my neighbors understand how important that is. In fact, the reason why I'm talking about this today is because I just had a conversation with a new neighbor who just moved in a couple days ago. And I hadn't had a chance to meet him until just a couple days ago. But I'd already noticed that he was coming in and he was doing that. I was up one night at 1:15. I heard somebody doing that. I look outside and there he was. I was going, damn, that's a loud horn. You don't drive into a place where everyone's sleeping and go, eek, eek. Well, that's what you do when you click that little alarm button. What's wrong with you people, man? You don't think, do you? Well, I understand. That's okay. Everyone's doing it, right? Well, that's the problem. Everyone's doing it in a big city. There's just too much stress. So anyway, I finally saw the guy a couple days after that or whatever, and I had a chance to see him, and I wasn't about to start off a relationship by talking about that, so I just want to let him know I, glad to meet him and all. And but then today, just before I came out here, in fact, a couple hours ago, right as I was leaving, I was lubing my chain out there on the patio, and he just right across the way from me. So he had just drove up with his wife, and they have a couple cars, and both of them have real loud horns. And I'm sitting there cleaning my bike chain and lubing it, and he pulls up and he comes out and he does what most people do to set the alarm. And when it happened, I didn't see him pull up. It startled me. It scared me because it was so loud and it was only like 20 feet away from me. Kind of pisses you off. It's noise pollution. It's stress. People don't realize they're adding stress. I call that unnecessary noise pollution. But what was interesting, it was quite perfect timing actually for this to happen, because within about a minute, I heard the little baby downstairs right next to where that car was parked start crying. That horn woke it up. And here it was, 1 o'clock or so in the afternoon or so. It was what time was it? About 2 or 3, I guess it was. Yeah, closer to 2 or 3 is when it happened. So it was in the middle of the day, but still this little baby's sleeping, and him coming in honked his horn. So as he's coming up the stairs, I said, this might be a good time to mention this to him. And I just said to him, I said, when you came in and you turned your car alarm off, you woke the baby up, and now it's crying. And of course he goes, well, what can I do? I gotta shut it off, don't I? I said, well, don't you have an option to not make it honk the horn when you do it? Or how about the old-fashioned way before we had those little gadgets? How about just, shut the lock off and close the door? Anyway, Frank, great to meet you, man. I'm going to be sure to tell you about this. I forgot to tell you. I told you about my YouTube channel, and of course I did to you what I do to everybody. I tell them about a solid food vacation, having a 20-pound cesspool in me, and how he had a belly full of crap in him. He's 43, so he had enough of belly in there that he can appreciate this message. But anyway, Frank, I told you about my YouTube channel, but I forgot to tell you that I just got through doing a 4-part video series memorializing my sweet little girl Sienna. So if you, I'll be sure, hopefully I can talk to you before then, but if you go to my channel and you go, well, what's this guy talking about dogs and all this stuff? This isn't even about health. But anyway, sleep is so important. We want our neighbors to be happy. We want everyone around us to be happy. It's a simple concept that we all need to embrace. And it's difficult if we have to intellectualize about it. That's why I love the solid food vacation, because you don't have to intellectualize about that anymore. Even if you're not the type of personality who is more thoughtful than others, your whole mentality is going to change when you flush out that serpent, that demon inside your belly. And when you pump up those biophotons, which is how our cells communicate at night. That's why if you want to heal the body, you got to stop eating dead food. You want good cellular communication, and you want to get a good night's sleep. Now, I'm going to add right now that Dr. Norman Walker, considered the father of juicing, he made the first juice extractor, but he got in trouble because he was an artist, and like many artists, couldn't make a living doing what he loved, so he had to do other jobs and then burn the midnight oil to do the thing he loved. That eventually caught up with him. Sleep deprivation is cumulative. He got sick. His doctor said, go to France, they got great soil, eat some produce. And that was when he was on the porch one day and grabbed a carrot and started grating it, put it in a cheesecloth, and said, look what I got, some carrot juice. But he said something that I thought was very interesting. Never been able to confirm this from any other source, but since he had this problem, I thought, well, maybe he might know something about it. He said that every hour of sleep before 10 o'clock is worth 2 hours afterwards. So when you go to bed at 9, you get 2 hours in place of that 1. Now, I don't know how that works with the REM cycle and all, but wouldn't that be interesting if all we had to do to make sure we made up for that sleep deprivation is just go to bed a little bit earlier? Even if we sleep the same amount of time, if you normally go to bed at, let's say, 10, 11, or 12, and then you sleep your 6 or 8 hours or whatever, if you bump it back to 9 and then wake up that hour earlier, or sleep that extra hour, whatever you need to do, look how much better you'll be off because you get 2 hours for 1. So you got to get your sleep. You got to satisfy all of our needs. I explain that in all my other videos. We have 2 groups of needs, 12 essential, 2 additional temporary needs. One of those 12 essential needs is a good night's sleep. But then what if we're damaged? What if we have sleep deprivation? Now we have another group of needs because we're damaged. We might need to go to bed a little before 10 o'clock instead of after 10. We might need to sleep a little bit longer. And one of the best things we can do so that we don't need to sleep as much is embrace a raw vegan diet with an understanding that it is our ideal diet, it is our species-specific diet. In an ideal world, we don't live there anymore. We're damaged, we got another group of needs, so you might have another group of needs because you're sleep deprived, but you might have another group of needs because you're living way up north and you're not getting any sunshine. Sunshine, sleep, exercise. It isn't all about food, it's about 12 essential needs, 2 additional temporary needs. And I explain all that in my other videos, so if you're new to my YouTube channel, go to the Ultimate Solution playlist and you'll find an 11-part video series where I explain all of the pieces to my puzzle. Just go to the big long one that has every one of them on there, and you can look at the description box of all of my 11-part video series where I explain every piece of the puzzle, and you can find more about that information just by going to that video. Again, we can't just look at one aspect. We got to look at everything. One of the biggest problems that we have is we're damaged, and we have to do damage control. And for many of us, the best way to do that is to quit putting your body through so much stress. Quit making it eat food you're not biologically adapted to eat. And the best way of all is to take a solid food vacation. Because when you stop making your body expend all that energy digesting food, you're going to need less sleep. And I love coaching people when they tell me, John, I'm waking up a couple hours earlier and I'm refreshed for the first time. Usually I wake up much later and I'm not even recharged. But then occasionally, you know what happens? People are saying, I can't wake up at all. My body's getting so in tune on this solid food vacation that I am sleep deprived and it wants me to keep sleeping. Good, listen to your body. I've coached people who needed 16 hours of sleep because they were so sleep deprived. And remember, it's got to be continuous, uninterrupted sleep. So be aware of what you do in your surroundings, especially your neighbors. It only makes sense, doesn't it, that you want all your neighbors to be happy, and the last thing you want them to be is irritable. And when that can happen, we're all in for a treat.